Are you religious?
No.
Do you believe in God?
No.
Soros told us he believes God was created by man, not the other way around, which may be why he thinks he can smooth out the world's imperfections.
One of your money manager told us that George really does think he's a god.
Lawmakers are investigating after the FCC fast-tracks George Soros' deal to buy 200 radio stations, reaching 165 million Americans weeks before the election. The FCC commissioner expressing concerns.
The FCC here is not following its normal process for reviewing a transaction. It seems to me that the FCC is poised to create, for the first time, an entirely new shortcut.
Look, this Soros-backed group is looking to buy the second largest radio station group in the country. We're talking over 200 radio stations across more than 40 markets.
First of all, it's important for every American to understand, truly not just Americans, but anyone living in any society on earth, how influential Soros has been throughout his career. But here back at home in America, to truly understand the power of the Open Society Foundation.
Well, Soros has long used money to promote his political views, but not everyone is convinced that his view of Baltimore is the healthiest view.
In the city of Baltimore, hundreds of nonprofit organizations are fueled by the dollars of donors. And lately, one of the chief donors has been billionaire philanthropist George Soros.
He funds a lot of good work. He funds a lot of very controversial things as well.
For 25 years, the only U.S. field office for Soros's Open Society Foundation was located in downtown Baltimore. And for 25 years, his foundation pumped millions of dollars into Baltimore's nonprofits. Parker Thayer, who has long studied Soros's philanthropy, says most all of it is aimed at promoting his far-left political views.
He likes to use his philanthropic and political giving empire to circumvent things that slow him down, like the legislature and the Constitution.
Thayer says there's nothing illegal about the gift giving, but believes it should be scrutinized. Not all of the recipients, he says, have succeeded, and he says not all of them may be good for Baltimore.
The problem with the Soros network is that the people leading it think they have more knowledge and are smarter than everybody else in the world. They don't. They're normal people just like you and me. They happen to have a lot of money.
Soros is now 93 years old and recently turned over his philanthropic activities to his son, who is vowing to become even more politically active than his father.
I mean, who elected Soros to dictate public policy and laws? Why does he feel entitled to impose his agenda? Unelected bureaucrats are trying to instate public policy. Who elected them? They don't have a democratic mandate. If they want a seat in the table, they should run for office.
Of all the financial titans and philanthropists of the 20th century, none are more complex or mysterious than George Soros. Like Carnegie, J.P. Morgan, and the Rockefellers, he amassed billions through ruthless business decisions, only to turn around and give away most of his fortune to advance his own personal philosophy. He can move world financial markets simply by voicing an opinion, or destabilize a government by buying and selling its currency. He also pledged more aid last year to help people in Russia than the U.S. government did. But now George Soros is worried. He thinks the global economy is coming apart at the seams and that the world needs to be protected from people like George Soros.
But the fact is that the system is broke and it needs fixing.
What you're doing is asking some form of regulation to protect the world against you.
Well, I'm a player, and I think all players should be regulated. There have to be rules of the game.
So, Ajit, when you look at George Soros and you look at his political contributions, we're talking about $60 million to Democrats, or whether it's his organization or directly from him. I guess the question is, how is he able to get away with this if this is not your typical process? Is it because of the politicians that he has alliances with?
Well, I think that's what the House Oversight Committee and others are going to be looking into, including Congressman Chip Roy, who flagged this issue in the spring. For me, at least, as a former FCC official, this is the reason why we have these rules, so that everybody has to play by the same process.
According to the New York Post, foreign company ownership of U.S. radio stations is not allowed to exceed 25%. But a filing acquired by the Post details Soros is asking the commission to make an exception.
Here, they're trying to do something that's never been done before at the commission level.
Yeah, I must say, Commissioner, I am extremely alarmed at what's happening with this transaction. This is very unprecedented. Looking at the facts, it seems that the administration is giving a left-wing billionaire who is a major donor, a close ally, one of the chief funders of all of their efforts and their dark money, a free pass to take control of hundreds of local radio stations.
In the last 2 years, you've been blamed for financial collapse of Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Are you that powerful?
No, I think there's a great misunderstanding.
The Prime Minister of Malaysia said that the region spent 40 years trying to build up its economy, and along comes a moron like Soros with a lot of money, and it's all over. He called you a criminal.
It's easier for him to blame an outside force. I think that I've been blamed for everything. I am basically there to make money. I cannot and do not look at the social consequences of what I do.
Part of the reason he is so rich is that the Soros hedge funds operate offshore in the Netherlands Antilles to avoid scrutiny by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So even while Soros tells Congress and the Treasury that hedge funds must be regulated to stop the global crisis, he's avoiding the rules.
Why is it that Americans can't invest in the quantum fund? It's an offshore fund. Why is that?
Because the fund is not registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. We are not
licensed to do business in the United States.
That's right.
Because?
Because we are not registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Because we find it more convenient to operate without it.
So in some ways it's to escape regulation.
Yeah, that's right.
But you've been sitting here talking about the need for regulation.
Yes, and whatever regulations are imposed, we will obey. We already conform to everything.
Alex, he's already a big political donor apart from his family, pouring $5.7 million since 2018 into Democratic PACs and campaigns. And like you said, he's known to flaunt his liberal connections. You do a quick scan of social media, it shows countless pictures with world leaders, Democratic mainstays, the president, the VP, Nancy Pelosi. I wanted to share this with you. It was interesting. He shared that speech nowadays he feels is too restricted. Not everyone is buying it, though. Elon Musk saw that. He tweeted this, saying, quote, "If he's serious about freedom of speech, then we have common ground. But destroying public safety by electing DAs who won't prosecute violent criminals needs to stop."
Yes, George Soros and his Open Societies Foundation, which is the main vehicle that he uses to fund various activism and initiatives, its influence on U.S. elections cannot be overstated. So it's a couple of tranches. One is partnering with these NGOs to fast track immigrants, basically coming in through the asylum system or other systems and fast tracking their naturalization process.
Alex Soros, George's son, just met with the VP candidate, Tim Walz. You know the family's influence, especially in areas like criminal justice, immigration, voting rights, extremely left-wing.
You have a guy in a billionaire's apartment in New York City with the cityscape behind them. And, of course, this guy inherited all of his money from his daddy. And what I think is so interesting about this picture is the campaign didn't release this. It was Alex Soros who released this picture. And the reason that he released the picture is because he not only did Tim Walz come to his apartment to sell his soul, he wants the world to know that he owns his soul. That's what that picture, and I guarantee you the Kamala Harris campaign, when they saw that picture on the internet, they freaked out. But there's nothing they could do because they got bought by this guy.
I am concerned about the society in which I live.
Which George Soros am I talking to now? The amoral George Soros or the moral George Soros?
It's one person. It's one person who at one time engages in amoral activities and at the rest of the time tries to be moral.
And so then, therefore, maybe the American public have an honest discussion, have an honest view of exactly how powerful is this family.